Hi everyone, it's Sweet Kid here. Sunday's just come and I've just come back from the temple with my family and I have done my prayers and I do hope my life has um basically a positive change, given that I do hope for the best that's going to happen to me. But unfortunately, when I came home today, I received an email from Carousell. Now, I have just published a video over a dispute I had with a user, and the problem now is that I received an email saying I was hostile, and I find this ridiculous. And they have already warned me falsely in the past without providing any proof that I was rude or hostile or bigoted to somebody else. And yet now they have the audacity to say that this is my final warning and any further actions that I do that are deemed inappropriate are going to result in my account being restricted. Now let's back it up from the start. First of all, the first instance was when a user told me that I had to head to his house in Jurong, because I live in the east of Singapore, Jurong's in the west. And he said if I did that within the next hour, then he'd give me a discount, else the price is fixed. I said that's crazy, and I didn't engage with him any longer after that. But I did receive that email warning me I had inappropriate behavior, and given that I had no other transactions in that period of time, that was the only engagement I had with another user on Carousell back then. So given that no other chats were created, it was obvious that that user had reported me. And I don't know who's doing investigating, but they basically didn't do it properly and now are just falsely accusing me of being inappropriate when I am not. And I do not know what happened to the second one, but the second one, I believe I didn't say anything and I just got it out of the blue. I checked my conversations. I didn't even deal with anyone on Carousell back then, so someone just reported me for no reason and ended up receiving that warning email, which I disagree with. Again, that was something I just ignored. I put it to a side because I know it was false. If I had done something wrong, I would have admitted it, because I have no shame in confessing when I do something wrong. That's just how I am. And let's skip to the most recent instance, because what happened was that if you didn't see my most recent video, I had a disagreement with a user because he told me he wouldn't deal with me until I paid him. Because on Carousell, how it works is that when a deal is finalized, you have to make sure the other party accepts the offer to prove there's a digital record. But this seller refused to accept the offer and demanded that I pay him, which, as I already brought up, he could easily just block me and run away and just not deal with me at all. He just run away with my money and I've lost. So given that I blocked him after he was being rude, genuinely rude, which I will attach the transcript of what he said on screen, and basically I blocked him after that and I went about my day. But he used a second account to bypass the blockage and to harass me further. Carousell themselves have made it very clear that every person is only allowed to have one account. So why not take action against him, and why are you taking action against me? Which I don't understand at all, because it's ridiculous. I was being the victim of this harassing situation because, again, the deal fell through, alright. But if he's going to continue to harass me after I've put an end to it by hitting the block button, why are you not being punished for your actions? It's ridiculous. Like, they've looked at two people, one arguing with the other, and the person that says that I'm being untrustworthy because I have 3 negative reviews out of 108, and yet nothing is happening to him, and I'm the one bearing the consequences. I don't see how this is fair at all, because again, from the start, I was being very amicable, as I always am, and I basically tried to deal with him, but he didn't want to accept and demanded I pay first. Again, this is a red flag that I would avoid dealing with this person. So since he didn't want to deal, that was it. I told him that he should stop being paranoid, which is nothing wrong. That's nothing offensive. Did not use any terms or slurs against this user, and just said that his behavior was paranoid, and somehow, according to Carousell support, I was being offensive. And I have no idea what their thought process was to draw up such a ridiculous conclusion. Because at this point, it's just outlandish. How could you just look at that and accuse me of being offensive when you didn't even look at the full insight of what happened? Because again, from the start, I was being very amicable. I tried to deal with this user, but he started to bring up my reviews in this argument and try to use it as a point of not able to be trusted by him. And again, I disputed that, and I was very amicable, which you will see in the transcript that I'll attach on screen. And to prove my point that basically Carousell is just trying to find trouble, or they just don't know what they're doing. Because then again, they had removed one of my listings on the basis it was a duplicate, which it was not. And I had to go back and forth with support to get it reinstated, and all I got was a sorry and nothing else to make up for my time. Whatever. The listing was up, and in the end I did get my item, so that was great. So the issue now is that why are they just falsely accusing people? I mean, they haven't taken any action against my account, but it's clear and evident that they are looking at my account and watching me very closely, because if that wasn't the case, why would they be sending out these emails saying that I'm being offensive? Again, if I was offensive, I would have nothing to hide. I would just own up and confess to what I've done. But in this case, what is there to confess to when I haven't done anything wrong at all? Again, if I had done something wrong, I would be guilty of that, and the guilt would just eat away at me, gnaw at me, and hence I would confess. But now, it's just so frustrating because they're accusing me of doing something which I didn't do. I don't see how rebutting against someone who's being very basically rude and hostile, and I would say delusive even, with him trying to make me pay before he accepts the offer. If you're trying to do this and yet I'm the one that gets punished, where's the fairness in that? I've been using Carousell again for many years. I've been very I would say respectful on the platform, and when people aren't respectful, I don't go out of my way to be rude, because that doesn't get me anywhere. In fact, I just make my point in a respectable fashion, and I will just block them and not engage with them any further. But given what happened today, I don't agree with anything at all. In fact, it's unfair. That's why I'm even making this video in the first place. I have contacted support again, despite me not liking having to deal with them. I have to contact them to dispute this warning, because it's a warning, yes, but then again, why am I given this in the first place? Do they have anything better to do than just investigate these false reports and actually accuse me of it? It just boggles the mind. If you've been on their Google Maps page, basically they have a lot of cases where people are just bringing up the same issue as me. Accounts are being restricted and suspended for no reason, and I can see that maybe some people are lying, that they're not being so honest, but given that this is happening to me personally, I can basically speak on their behalf that what they're saying is true, because it's quite hard to believe that someone's going to get punished for no reason, because there's an action and a consequence. That's a given. But in my case, I'd had an action, but it was by no means violating their marketplace rules. So again, why is there a consequence for an action that's not violating the rules? It's so contradicting, and it's frustrating to me because, again, Carousell is that one player in the second-hand online marketplace here in Singapore, and as such, I'm just used to them. I have to use them, or basically it's their way or the highway, so I have to go their way, which, again, I'm not happy with it, and I don't see why, and I'm really sorry that I'm repeating myself, but it's just so frustrating. I've been supporting the site for many years, and this is how I'm treated as a user because I didn't buy coins or anything. Because again, I've seen people just violate these site rules over and over again, be it duplicate listings or those who just get rude, like that one user that I brought up in this instance. I don't think it's appropriate to harass someone who has blocked you using a different account because that account wasn't blocked. And instead of taking action against him and what he said being literal harassment by belittling me, instead they're trying to say that me rebutting against him is wrong. I don't get it. How is rebutting against someone who is trying to harass you wrong? If someone were to basically challenge you, wouldn't you at least say something in return? Isn't that a natural response? And that's what I did. And I'll even swear, hand on heart, again, because I have nothing to hide. And I intend to put the full chat that led up to that so-called escalation in this video, because I want to make a point here that this is what they consider hostile. Then how polite do I have to be in order to conform to their guidelines? Am I supposed to say please and thank you after every message? It's getting a bit ridiculous, because I'm an adult and I know that using profanity and swearing at someone doesn't get me anywhere. In fact, that makes me rude and that would be violating the policy. That's a given. But how is saying someone's paranoid or offensive? I don't get it, because again, I told him that he's being paranoid and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's the truth, because he brought up that I had 3 negative reviews out of 108. 3 negative reviews, and somehow me trying to defend myself is offensive. Again, I might even throw in some of the reviews that I've seen on the Google Maps page, because again, they're all singing the same tune about the same issue that I'm facing. Basically, the support team not doing their job properly, randomly issuing warnings for no rhyme or reason, and just getting some people like myself now in hot water when we don't deserve it. Again, if I did something, I would like proof that what I did actually offensive, instead of just giving me a generic reply saying you have been offensive and we're going to restrict your account and this is a warning. Okay, if this is a warning and something offensive was reported, what is that thing? Because I cannot find it anywhere. Because the only one altercation that I had with that user was the only thing I can think of, only one that I consider offensive. And I'm using the quotation marks here, because how am I offensive if I tell someone they're paranoid? Because again, that's true. You shouldn't be basing your reviews just because I have 5 stars and you have 4.9. That is ridiculous. And if you want to be that way, so be it. And I'm not going to comment on it, because again, it's his problem. Because then again, he has 60 5-star reviews, I have 100. That alone already implies that I'm dealing with more people than him. Because in that regard, I could just get 1 review and get 5 stars on that rating and just say, hey, I have 5 stars. But then again, stupid to just say, hey, your average is 5 stars because you only have 1 review. That's stupid. An average is the culmination of reviews over a long period of time. So mine's 4.9 because I have 105 5-star reviews. I believe I miscounted. I have 1 3-star review. No, I believe 2 3-star reviews and 1 1-star review. And again, those disagreements were no means my fault, because you meet people and there are good apples and bad apples in this world. That's a given. And what I did was I have rebutted what I experienced in those bad experiences in my last video about Carousell. But yet again, see what's going on with this review nonsense. Because again, why on earth am I being restricted? Well, on the verge of being restricted, because the email basically says that they have had report those who are on Carousell about my inappropriate behavior somehow. So my behavior being an avid carouseller is somehow offensive. I really cannot get my head around this, because first of all, to me, being offensive means you're using profanity, you're being very, very arrogant, or if you are straight up just using slurs, which is straight up wrong, unacceptable, and there's no justification for such behavior. But if you look at my case, again, why am I being restricted, or again on the verge of being restricted because I told someone he was paranoid? That is a fact, because we're not looking at things from my opinion. That's the fact no matter what you look at it. Because if someone is stating that having a lower average but more reviews means they're not as trustworthy as him, because you have to keep in mind, this person has about 60 to 70 5-star reviews and no negative ones. I have 100 5-star reviews and 3 negative ones. So again, I've dealt with more people than him, and as such, I'm more likely to run into someone, because the more deals you have, the more likely you run into someone who is just hard to deal with and all around basically a hard person to work with. So that speaks for me, because again, I have a lower average but more reviews, and as such, just basing your opinion because 2 or 3 bad apples are out there against 100, it's already ridiculous. And I have no idea why this is considered inappropriate by support, because again, basing your entire judgment of somebody because someone decided to rate me badly and you don't even talk to that person to see both sides of the story, you shouldn't be basing your opinions right up there within a few seconds, because that just proves you're looking at numbers and you're not digging deeper. And I am not asking this person to dig deeper and find out what actually happened and hear both sides. I am not into that. What I am interested in is basically this flawed reasoning and now on the verge of being punished by Carousell, because again, I don't see how saying someone's paranoid is offensive when that is the truth. Because again, being truthful doesn't mean you're impolite or polite. Both ways, basically. You can be true but rude, or true but polite. And in my case, I was true and just honest. I didn't hide anything. I didn't try and sugarcoat anything. I just straight up told him he was paranoid, because again, you shouldn't be basing your reviews just straight up looking at one or two negative ones out of 100 and trying to sing praise by yourself. It's just a ridiculous concept, and somehow I'm in hot water with the support. So I have emailed them and started a chat about my experience right now, because again, I don't know why there is issuing warnings when I didn't even do anything. Basically, this person tried to scam me and I rebutted, and rebutting against scammers is looked down on by Carousell. Again, it really speaks why there's a negative connotation about Carousell. Looked on Google Maps or Glassdoor or any of these websites where people are putting their opinions on Carousell, you'll see that there is an overwhelming negative reception, because again, the support team doesn't know what they're doing. And as I brought up, I strongly feel that everything is just AI operated, because I strongly suspect that it's AI operated, because how could a human look at me saying that someone's paranoid when he's exhibiting blatant disrespect for me and just being rude, even going the extra mile to into his second account and just harass me further. And this is already violating their site rules. And all they care about is fighting back. It just screams unfairness, honestly. Carousell, I've been supporting them because they're a local company, and I find it in my best interest to make sure that local companies are able to succeed in the market, because I have to keep in mind that the competitive nature of the market out there, it's really intense. And of course, I want the best for anything that's homegrown. And as it shows, Carousell does not deserve that amount of success that I have initially hoped for them, because I want them to succeed. It's in my best interest. Singapore companies making it big and against other competitors, and that is stuff that I am on board with. I want it to happen, and I want to see that Singapore itself gets recognition. But at this point in time, what's there to praise if this is how treat those that use their site with their arrogance and straight up inability to determine what's appropriate and what's not appropriate? And that's just scratching the surface of all the poor decisions made by the admin team, because the admin team, as I've brought up, they randomly flag my listing. They have not taken action against someone who's making a lot, and I mean a lot, of these duplicate listings, because you're only supposed to put one per item, and this person has put up 5 and nothing has been done, and yet it just boomeranged on me. And now look, I have a warning email aside 2 more that I really am disagreeing with, because point is just growing repetitive. And I'm not saying that everyone is perfect, because we are not. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, but having them try and falsely accuse me really gets me worked up. And I'm trying to control my emotions. I'm trying to find a solution to this. Again, I've contacted the support by Sunday, so I don't expect a reply, but I don't expect them to take it very seriously. In fact, I am just expecting them to just accuse me, saying, yeah, we're going to double down on it. You were inappropriate and your warning is deserved. I'm expecting this at this point. I'm not keeping my hopes up, because again, someone is already breaking a rule by having 2 accounts. This one rule broken, and they're using that account to be outright offensive against me and harass me when I've blocked them. So they're bypassing the fact that I blocked them to harass me further, and that's another rule broken. And yet I have only 1 account. I replied very diplomatically, and there you go. I have a warning. Again, I have no idea how this support's run, because if you were to contact support now, basically it will be connected to an AI chatbot, and it's no chat GPT by any means, because it's really stupid. And I don't mean this in a bad way, because I need a human to understand what issue is, instead of having an AI just direct me left and right to help articles which are completely unrelated to the problem, which in this case is a false report. In fact, they don't seem to be able to have reports or anything disputed at all, which begs the question, why on earth does a support team exist? Because to me, it seems like every decision they make is final. There's nothing I can do about it as a user. In fact, it's just like I have to bear the consequences of my actions. And in this case, it's actions that didn't even happen, because again, I only said that he was being paranoid for being untrustworthy, and because I again had 3 negative reviews out of over 100, which again, I'm finding it hard to believe how this makes me untrustworthy. And next up, he was straight up trying to scam me, because again, if you're refusing to accept the offer, it already screams, don't deal with this person to me. Because again, if you refuse to have a digital record and just want to deal basically outside of that platform, you're already trying to set yourself up as someone who's trying to bypass the record system and have the deal conducted without any record, which again is suspicious, because again, as I brought up, he could have easily just blocked me after I paid and easily just take my money and run away, and there's nothing I can do, because Carousell will not intervene in user-to-user disputes. But right now they're intervening because they've received a report that I was offensive. And again, I will provide the chat somewhere in this video. I'll see where I can fit it in, and you can see for yourself, and you be the judge that I was not offensive. Because if this is offensive, fine, I will admit that I was, and I will accept the warning with grace, and I would genuinely be polite. But how polite do I have to be on the side? Again, this brings up this question. How polite do I have to be if saying someone's paranoid, which is, again, not offensive, it is a word in the dictionary? How is this offensive? Is this a new slur? To my knowledge, I cannot see how the word paranoid is a slur, basically, because it use certain words like maybe schizophrenic, and that would be worthy of a warning, because using a medical term to offend someone, that's genuinely offensive. Because, for example, I have autism, so if you say someone's autistic, that's already offensive, and I don't take kindly to it. But paranoia, it's just a behavior. So if someone's paranoid and that's a trait about them, and so Carousell is basically saying that if I were to use words that are adjectives, so paranoid is an adjective and it's a trait for a personality. So what if I were to say someone is polite, dishonest, rude, lying? Are these all worthy of warnings, or worst of all, actions against my account? It's ridiculous. I have nothing else to say about this situation that I'm in, because again, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, because Carousell, again, is the only online marketplace here in Singapore that I can think of off the top of my head. I can't see any alternatives. Carousell it is, but again, I'm not enjoying myself on Carousell, given how I'm treated and how I don't seem to be respected. Because what's the point of respecting site rules when you're going to get accused of breaking them anyway? Which to me is just a very sad situation, because again, I've been supporting Carousell by publicizing them. Although I don't buy Carousell coins, spreading the word that it's a great site really just regret doing that so much, because at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like my long-term patronage was valued at all. In fact, I feel like is that I'm just another user to them. I'm just a statistic, which I don't feel like I am. Because again, why would I have praised Carousell so much? Because I like the site. But right now, it's just even harder and harder to understand what they're doing, because again, I'm just looking at my email right now, and I have a record of what I wrote to them, and I will be attaching this as well, because again, right now I want to know, why was my account given a warning when I didn't do anything wrong? And the fact that they said that this is my final warning really speaks that they're serious about taking action against me. But what's there to be serious about when I didn't do anything wrong? So you just back me up against a wall, and I am forced to deal with a problem that they created for me. I didn't create this problem. I just dealt with a user who was unscrupulous and tried to scam me. And just because he harassed me, I told him he was paranoid. This is somehow offensive. So that is about the short version of it. And I will be showing what I wrote to them in the chat. And what I hope is going to happen is that they're going to retract this warning, which I highly doubt. Although I want to see this happen, I want them to prove me wrong and actually investigate reports instead of just giving random conclusions based on what the AI thinks. Because again, it's so frustrating that it seems like a lot of their decisions and all their admin teams are just AI generated now. So if an AI says I'm wrong, it means I'm definitely wrong without any human perspective on it. And I'm a human. I'm looking at an AI most likely, and it's just so frustrating. So yeah, thank you so much for sticking it out and bearing with me, because it's just so frustrating. I use Carousell because it's where I typically buy my phones when I need a secondhand phone. Next up, I use it to advertise my costume rental services, and I also use it to look for jobs. And it's not the Carousell that I hoped it would have been, because I don't agree that they're just letting people who break rules just go by fine. And for me, they're just taking all these weird actions, issuing warnings that shouldn't even be a thing in the first place, because you should have to investigate a report from a user. So if someone reports me for being offensive, instead of taking their word for it, which seems to be the case, look at the chat and look at what I said, because I didn't erase any messages. I just left them all there, and see for yourself if I was being rude or not. And if I'm not being rude, retract the warning. It's that simple. But again, I don't have any optimism given past track record with me and how they've just let scammers just stay on the platform. That guy who sold me the cracked iPhone just brushed off and told to contact the police, and they didn't even suspend his account or warn him or anything. And here I am being warned for saying someone's paranoid. With that said, I cannot do anything, because then again, I'm just a user. I know my cousin works there, but I'm not going to trouble him over something so trivial. I'll see what the support team says, and I'll take my actions accordingly once I see what they have to say for themselves. So with that said, thank you so much for listening. If you are in a similar situation to me, the easiest way to have change happen is just put your review somewhere where the site is being reviewed, such as I said, Glassdoor or maybe Google Maps. Put your review on the page and let people see for themselves what the site really is about. Because if we have enough people that share the same sentiment about the site being basically unfair and exhibiting double standards, change will happen then. Because if not enough people basically boycott them, nothing's going to happen. So I do anticipate change in the future, but I don't think it's going to come anytime soon. So with that said, here concludes my tirade for today. So thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned to my channel for any CSR2 tips or other tirades if that's your kind of thing. And I'll see you next time. Thank you, take care, and goodbye. I should note that the email that was sent to me was sent today, which is Sunday. And I know for a fact that their support team does not work on Sundays. So you can clearly tell that whoever or whatever sent me this email is not human. It's likely artificial intelligence, which really only serves to enforce my point. This was an artificial intelligence generated response, the outcome of the email. So again, I will see if a human rep can help me, but again, I'm not keeping my hopes up.